Playbook.
My god, they're coming. Why they coming? Why you still coming like that, bro? They coming on me, bro.
Bro, what the fuck are you saying, bro? No pause either?
Coming all over. Resume, bro. come back on it.
なる世界で何度だってさ触れる心ない言葉うるさい声に涙がこぼれそうでもありきたりな喜びきっと二人なら見つけられる探し日々に笑えない君に思いつく限り眩しい明日を明けない夜に落ちてゆく前に僕の手を掴んでほら忘れてしまいたくて閉じ込めた日々も抱きしめたぬくもりで溶かすから怖くないよいつか日が昇るまで二人でいよう
Still too many men. But that's okay. Nobody is perfect, you know.
君にしか見えない何かを見つめる君だ
Nobody's perfect, you know. Everybody can forgive me. I killed about 50 men.
続くべはない人生イメージ通りなんかじゃない静かに騒
Why is that worth 125? There's no way.
Rodney O, DJ The bass that's in your face, show enough shrugs your face. Just like you got sprayed by a can of mace. You see, your speaker is moving, everybody is grooving. My song moves along as a short.
Shit is 18 plus bucks, bro. What the fuck?
Everyone plays some Fortnite. Yeah. Most of them have like Xboxes. They don't have. Yeah. That's the only. Yeah. Cougar-esque wife.
Fuck yeah, you got a good ass player. Now that I'm better.
Damn, just say you hate him. Shit. Runjin.
Bro, I just got a lag spike. Are you kidding me? On Osu? For real?
Shit. Just say you want him to die. God damn. Yo.
I finally S this song. Holy fuck.
Nice.
I got it recorded too. Oh my goodness. Bro, look at that. Look at this shit.
Aw.
I started this shit in March.
This fish is like broken.
Alright, let's get this shit.
Yo, chill! What do you mean? Oh my gosh, you can take the top off of this character? What?
Where you at?
Yo, I'm on Ami right now, bro. What do you mean, bro? This figure is crazy, bro. This price is... The price is low-key outrageous. Yo, I'm looking at all these. Wait! I know this! Yo, this is from that one hentai, bro!
Yo, chill! Yo, I'm playing a song right
Yeah!
I've seen this.
You know that? You know what I mean, bro? It's from that one...
There's only like three like main of a dark girl. Like, with white hair.
Oh, this...
I remember
like-
my first one I watched was Travis.
Oh yeah, look at this character. Look at this character, and then... That's crazy. There's an option for that? Like, what? Look. There's an option for that, and then there's the closed version too? I think... you can. No, it comes... It's like... There's you can just swap it out. Yeah. Yeah.